guys, so today we're going to continue talking about sound design. And when we're talking about sound design with synthesizers, it's very important that we know the building blocks of synthesis sound design. If we know the building blocks, it's a lot easier to do the very complex things that can come in with sound design. So today we're going to talk about 4 of the most important building blocks in synthesis sound design, and that's 4 little letters. They are A, D, S, and R. Now, the idea behind the ADSR envelope was developed by Vladimir Uzuchevsky, the head of the Princeton Electronic Music Center, in 1965. He was working on some improvements for Bob Moog's synthesizer at that time, and he suggested the ADSR envelope. What does ADSR stand for? Well, let's talk about it. Now, the A in ADSR stands for attack. The attack is how long it takes that note to go from 0 when it's played, that's 0 velocity, to its peak level, the peak level being how hard the note is actually played. The peak level is defined by the D, the decay. The decay is the peak of the note, and the decay is going to define how long that note is going to be held until it ramps down to the S, the sustain. The sustain is how long that note will actually be held and played for. So if you think of playing a synthesizer key and holding that note down, if you're holding that note down and that sound continues to play, that's the sustain. The sustain then leads to the final step in the ADSR envelope, and that's the R, the release. The release is how long it takes for that note to then stop being played and go back down to 0 after the key is let up. So if we have a long release and we let our finger up on that note, that release is going to define that the note's going to be played for a very long time after that. It's going to take a much longer time to fade out. Whereas a short release is going to stop that note from being played very quickly. The ADSR envelope is very important because it very much defines the nature of the sound that you are designing for a synthesizer. And this is very important because if we know the ADSR envelope and we know what kind of a sound we want to create, we can use the ADSR envelope to very much create that sound. For instance, if we wanted to create a pad sound, which is used in a lot of 80s music and also in a lot of soundtrack music, things like that. If we wanted to create a pad sound, we would want to create a velocity curve on our ADSR envelope that has a very long ramp up on the attack and probably a very long sustain as well, and then a very long release. This will create a sound that will take a long time to ramp up, be held for a long time, and then take a long time to fade out and fade away. Now, if we wanted to create a lead synth sound, or maybe if we were creating synthesized drum sounds, we would want to create a velocity curve for our ADSR envelope that has a very quick ramp up on the attack, so that would almost be sort of a vertical line going up. The decay and the sustain would probably also be very short, and then the release would probably be very short as well. It would also fall down very quickly, and that's because the release, we would want that note to stop being played very quickly rather than being held for a long period of time. So again, this is just a building block for sound design. I hope that this is very helpful to you guys. If you want to learn more about ADSR envelopes, I suggest you just open up a synthesizer or software synth on your computer. If you have a hardware synth, you probably have access to the ADSR on your synth, and just start playing with it. Get to know how the sound is affected when you change the attack, when you experiment with different decays and sustains, and of course the release. Give that a try and see how it affects your sound, and you'll be able to create a lot of different sounds like that. As always, you guys can get in touch with me at brian@obedia.com or on Twitter at twitter.com/OBEDIA tutor. Until next time, take care.